Welcome, 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 welcome. I can hear some people already, so something isn't right. Let's have a look. Meeting mute all. There we go. Mute everyone. Start me to go on. Welcome everyone. Loads and loads of people joining us. It's very cool. Hello, hi Caris. It was so nice to meet you the other day. I had the pleasure of meeting Caris and Namoria. Oh, my hair's just scraped back, but thank you. It's called I Can't Be Bothered. I'm Really Tired. That's what this hair is called. That's it. That's what I am today. Can't be bothered, tired. Hi, Quaily, quite nice to see you. Yeah, I was very lucky. I met Namoria and Caris the other day. They came all the way down from fucking way too far, believe me, to come down and say hello. I've got a new puppy. Does anyone want to see the puppy? Look, this is my new puppy. She looks like a stiff real life bear, doesn't she? She's called Goose.
Tell them what it's called, Debs.
Called Goose. Because that's a normal name for a dog. But this is my puppy. Look at my puppy. Oh my God. I just want to eat her. She's so cute. And she's really funny when she barks. She thinks she's some kind of like terrorist. She's like, woo! You're like, oh, shut up. It was lovely to meet you too. And she's so cute. She's so lovely. Oh, you've got a new puppy too. His name is Nick and he is in the room. Hello, Nick. Why is he called Nick? Why do we name our animals? What we name them? It's fascinating, isn't it? Right, so can I just remind people of some basics, please? No nudity, no sexual comments, no wanking, no masturbation, nothing along those lines. Please just make sure that people are comfortable with anything that you're probably going to say or do. And if you turn around and think, oh, I don't know if this is okay, then it probably is not. So please don't do anything that you think might not be okay. And that includes nudity and everything else. Don't write to anyone, don't say to anyone, oh my God, though, you look so cool. Hey, you look nice. Can I ask you out? That's not what this, thank you, Scott, that is appropriate. It's not what everyone is here for. So please be careful about the way you comment on other people's looks or different things in this room as well. That's not what it's there for. So please make sure that you are just speaking to us, me, right on the right. Don't write to anyone else. Don't do anything else. Okay, so the idea of these conversations is that we pick on 3 topics that you ask for. And this week we've got kind of harassment and stalking-like behavior. We've got scat and we've got STIs. So they're quite interesting. Joining with I can't say that. Kuiko High. I really don't want to get that wrong. That'd be so rude if I got that wrong. I hope that's roughly right. Also, if you've got something to say, please write down the side. Please don't speak up or say anything. The last time somebody spoke up, what did they say? I don't know if you remember, but he said, hi, can I give you some feedback? And I was like, yeah. It's like, I don't like the way you're mixing your physics with your chemistry or your biology. And I was like, okay, no, forget it. Fuck off. I'm not interested. These are free. If you don't like them, don't come. If you like them, advertise them and share. That's fine. I did pay 200 grand to study, to be told that I mustn't mix up my sciences. That's not okay by me. So we're going to start with stalking. We're going to start with stalking behavior and what happens. So one of the things we need to know when we talk about stalking and or harassment or having a go at somebody is if we talk about stalking, it's classified as a gender neutral crime. However, when you look at the statistics, roughly 75 to 80% of stalking victims are female, and 85 to 90% of perpetrators are male. So on average, it's quite interesting. There's also an argument that younger people are more likely to be stalked. So if you're aged between 18 and 30, you're more likely to be stalked. Thank you very much, Namoria. That's very sweet of you. So that's one of the first things we need to know. So this is more likely to happen when somebody is young rather than somebody being older. What I want to talk about, first of all, when it comes to harassment and stalking, we're going to go a little bit into the law and a little bit onto other things, a little bit like what can you do? What should you look for? But one of the ways you can stop being harassed is to rewind and start at the beginning. The way you set up a relationship, the way you agree to break up, the things you do to break up can have an influence on how people feel at the end. So we need to look at what's going on when we get together with someone. Are they showing symptoms of somebody who could potentially stalk or have severe issues? I'm really sorry, this isn't about all mental health or not mental health. For those of you that know me, I think you all know how I feel about mental health, and it's my work. And so, however, this is a really important point, that people who stalk are likely to have quite severe mental health issues, more along the severe spectrum of mental health issues. So we need to look at stuff. We need to look at stuff when we meet someone. Is this person a severe worrier? Does this person have severe anxiety or depression or extreme feelings? Fucking hell, not everyone with depression is going to stalk, and not all stalkers have depression. Okay, when I never mean all, always, so please take it for what I'm saying, but let's have a look at what that means. Let's have a look at you know, what's happening for this person. Do they badmouth all of their exes, or do they say things like, they fucking abused me, they were fucking awful, I haven't met one nice person in my whole life? Shit, I'm starting to sound like myself now. Okay, that's me. So if you're, you know, if they're starting to say, if they're never willing to take any form of accountability, I could have done this better, that could have changed, it isn't everybody, like this person was really nice, all of those things. So do they have trouble relating to people? Do they have many friends, or at least one friend, or some animals or something? I do. Are they push me, pull me? Are they somebody who's massively into you and you're like, oh my God, I think I found the love of my life, and they're like, fuck, they're leaving me, no, they're in again, no, they're out again, oh my God, where am I going with this? Can't breathe, what's happening here? So start to look for things that are happening there. Look for excessive use of any form of drug and or alcohol. That could be a problem. Why? What are they trying to get away from all the time? So we're looking for extreme levels of mental health problems, potentially. Now, does that mean that everybody who has severe mental health is going to stalk? Of course fucking not. Talk to the human being, you'll get a feel for them. If somebody's really struggling with their mental health, if I feel really down and I'm really tired and I can't cope with life, it doesn't mean I'm going to stalk you. So what I'm asking you to do is have a much better whole picture look at a human being. Does that make sense to everybody? So what we've also got to look at a little bit is why people stalk. Who are these people and what sort of stalkers do we get? What happens? What you'll find statistically, believe it or not, is that most stalkers are also actually unemployed. So when we talk about extreme stalking, when the original acts came in the 90s was the first harassment and stalking acts that came in. When they came in, what they thought was that they would get, they thought they would get anywhere between 1 to 200 cases a year. That's what they thought would happen. But in the first year, over 1,200 people, roughly, might be slightly under, I can't remember, sorry, were actually brought to court. So it's a much bigger problem than people thought it was. It was really, really different. And let's be serious, that's just the people who came forward. Zoe said, my ex stalked me after we broke up. I was his first girlfriend. He lost his virginity to me and we had a child, and he was abusive and cheating on me, but I wasn't allowed to move on. He actively found out any male I was dating and threatened them. It stopped when I got a girlfriend, but it went on for 6 years. It's bloody scary. It's terrifying. I've been stalked and I've been harassed. I've spoken about it quite a lot. I'm with you. I totally understand that one. And I had the police involved as well. Bit of advice for your mutual friend this week. Don't give out your real name, phone number, address until you've met someone a few times and checked out their profile, friends on FET, if that's how you met them. I'd really agree with that. Don't give out details. Don't let someone know where you live. Don't be so trusting up front. That's the other thing. Don't fall straight in. This person isn't the love of your life. They don't know you. You don't owe them anything and they don't owe you anything. So let's just go a bit slower sometimes. So people talk about 3 different, for stalking to happen, it has to be attention. It's really blurry. It's a difficult one. So you have to be very careful because people have quite an intense preoccupation with somebody else, and there are different forms of threats and stalking and behavior that we can go through. So I'm going to have a look at all of them as well. But it can be, I mean, it's really not funny. So there's different frequencies and different things that happen. It could be that the person turns up at your workplace, turns up at your home, contacts everybody you know, emails everybody, they engineer coincidences that are happening, and they start to do things in quite an invasive way. They contact everyone that you know. They might graffiti your car, they might send you gifts. I've had 2 different stalkers in my personal life. One stalked me on FET, talked about every picture, did everything I did. And I thought, well, that's okay. But then they start turning up at my home. They found out where I lived. They started leaving me presents. They started telling me that they loved me. That's quite obsessive type stalking. And another one was somebody that I met that lied about who he was and how he was and where he was, and he ended up stalking me, sending me pictures of the back of my house, the front of my house, this railway station that's near my house. He would tell me my timetable every day. He would know where I was going. So I didn't know how with that one, but, you know, took everything off. He then also found out what my FET workshop systems were like. So if I was in Brighton, if I was in London, he would say he was going to turn up. I used to say to people like, Jerry, by the way, this person might turn up. They're going to cause some trouble. This is what they look like. This is what's going to happen. Because I was continuously waiting for shit to happen. It's scary. So they have a real preoccupation. And some people, of course, that can also then go on to aggression, violence, murder, potentially as well. So it can go really far. I would say, however, that most people are not celebrities and stars. Most people are ordinary people, because a lot of people think, oh no, you know, we're only going for someone really, really safe. Al says, agreed, good advice, Jerry. I keep conversations on that for a long time before I go to WhatsApp. Why won't that go down? Oh, Domina says, this is terrifying. I'm so glad I've not been a victim of this. I'm 56. I wasn't a victim of this until I hit my 50s. You just never know. And Zoe regrets giving people off the scene details. And it is, just be careful. Cinders, also do background checks. In the UK, there are many tools. I've used Ancestry.com to check census reports, right through to Beta Company's House to confirm someone's name and age is true. My last Company's House search revealed that the guy had taken 13 years off his age and lied about his name. And he goes to local BDSM clubs, so there could well be an extra issue in relation to him potentially being trusted within his circle of friends. I agree. Spanish Red, quite a long time ago, put out a piece of writing of everything you could do. And don't forget, you can do things like TinEye, you can do reverse image searches. There's lots and lots of things that you can do, including searching someone's telephone number if you've got it, and all sorts of things. My ex is stalking me. I left FetLife in the community 6 years ago. Because of her, I rejoined a few months ago, and within a week she rejoined. She's now going around telling everyone I'm a paedophile. I'm not. She made false complaints about me and new partners I've had since. The police are more than happy to interview me when she makes complaints, but when I complain about her, nothing happens. It appears the police have decided that because most stalkers are men and most victims are women, and when a man is a victim, right, I'm going to disagree with you there, Kinky Dick. If you're not getting the help you need from the police, go somewhere else. Go to the next level of police. Go to somewhere to complain. Ask to see the person who's in charge of the station and start doing something. Start doing something about it. I'm going to come on to all of the things that you can and can't do in a minute as well. So we'll go on to that as well. So there are different forms of stalking. So you get different groups. So we can get people that are simply obsessed. So these are the definitions psychologically. We have simple obsession, which is I'm obsessed. Yeah, it's not, oh my God, you know, that's that person. We're obsessed. You also get love obsessed, and love obsessed, there's no prior relationship in any way, shape or form. However, you know, I love them. I absolutely adore them. So that's very extreme. So your ex isn't stalking you, your ex is harassing you. So what you need to do is make sure you get all the right sort of information and get the right words as well. Stalking is very different to harassment. We're covering it all as we go. And then we also have a group of people that are called erotomanic, where they have a delusion of the person being in love with them. Erotomanics are much more likely to end up shooting someone or doing something extreme. Madonna's stalker who got shot, I don't know if you remember that, that was an erotomanic. You know, when they were actually arrested the first time and they were let out, because of course they were, they wrote I love her, she loves me all over the cell walls and all sorts of stuff. I am Madonna's stalker, that's who I am. And it was very obsessive and it was very, very strong. So I would also argue that when you get celebrity stalkers, you'll also find the more psychotic illnesses are amongst those people as well, because it's so delusional and it starts to go through. However, what that doesn't tell us is why does somebody do it? What's happening? What's going on underneath? And it's really hard to distinguish why and what happens and what's the validity of it. Why do people do it? And how do people feel about it? But we do know that most individuals will desist and stop. Was it desist and not desist? I can't remember. There's a proper word for it, isn't there? That's a proper police word. So people will cease and stop behaviour after a period of time. Cease and desist. Thanks, Karis. puppy brain. So thank you, Cinders, as well. So people will stop, right? People will stop, but it can take a long time. It can take years, and there are things you can and can't do. People can get help. People who are stalkers can get help. However, is there help that stops them? No, it really does. We do have to make sure that they get treatment, that they get help, that they get some kind of drugs, that they are seen that they've got a problem. So that's where we have to go with that. So I think we have to be very, very careful, because people don't realize that this sort of stuff does come up. So let's talk about a few other things that we can realize and things that we can do. So there are safety strategies that we can use when it comes to extreme stalking, if that's what we're going to talk about. So there are strategies. You cannot be responsible for what they do. You cannot help yourself in so many ways. There's very little you can do. So you have to think about your own safety, your safety planning for everything you do as well. You need help from the police. You need help from different people. You have to think about safety planning. You really do. Trust your instincts. If your instincts are telling you something is wrong, probably is. Don't just tell them off. Your fear is justified, and you need to make sure that. So you have to make sure that you have different safety plans. When I was actively being stalked, I would drive slightly different ways. Sometimes I would walk different ways. You need to evolve your plan so it's not predictable and it's not set in a certain pattern. I did so much research on this when I was being stalked. I tell you, it was horrible. Do pre-mortem. I know it's a bingo for me. I know I say it all the time, but plan everything that could possibly happen and have an idea about what you're going to do for self-defense, for safety, for who you're going to call, for what it means. Have an idea. If what happens, what will I do? What will that look like? And is this fair? Is this making it all on the victim? 100%. Do you know what the problem is with a stalker? There is fuck all you can do until they start breaking the law. And this is the problem that we've got. So we have to be careful about our own safety. It's not good. Have a look about reaction. What we know with extreme stalking and obsessive behavior is the more you react, the more they react. So please be very careful about that one. If you up the game, they up the game, and that doesn't stop. It's not, you know, if you block on social media, they start turning up at your home. If you block here, they might start turning up at events. So just think about that. That's in stalking, that isn't in harassment. Again, cover that in a minute. You have to decide what works for you. Please get in contact with anyone around you who knows anything about domestic violence. Like, for example, for you there, Kinky Dick, I would also go to a domestic violence agency. I would make sure I've got some help. Go to any form of victim services that you've got around you in any way, shape or form. There are other places. There's a Susie Lamplowell Trust. There are other places, and I'll mention a few as we keep going through. Please go to a different police station or do something else and say, this is a catalogue. You need to keep a very good catalogue about what's happening and what it looks like. You do have to. Please don't have any contact with your harasser or stalker. On average, it takes 3 unwanted forms of communication with you to be classified as harassment. Stalking takes on a slightly different level. If you write back and you say, well, fuck you, after 500 messages, you start again. So, and that's crazy, isn't it? So don't start again. Nice pussy, Andy. Don't know if I should say that out loud. But so I've got a little bitch. I'm allowed to say anything on it. Right, so please be careful. Keep a log, keep documentation of everything that happens and how it happens. If you are seriously in danger, please make sure that you vary your daytime routine. Very hard if you've got children or anything else as well. Zoe says, let people you trust know where you are and where you're going and how long you'll be. And Zoe, following up on that, most phones now allow you to share your location with a friend or relative. Absolutely share location, 100% on a couple of apps, no matter what you do. And also bear in mind that if you wear an Apple Watch, if you fall to the ground and smack it, it sets off an alarm. So you can set that up as well. That's a very small one. That's a great one because people don't always know about it. And please set up your safe calls properly. If you are going to go and meet new people and do things, this is the point of safe calls. We all think we don't need them. You need to turn around and say to your family and friends, if you are being harassed by somebody, if they're an ex or if there's someone current, I'm being harassed, please do not engage, no matter what they write to you and what they do. When this particular person wrote to me and you know, start carrying on, he then sent me messages that included my daughter's email addresses. He knew them all. He was going to write to them all. And when he spoke to the police, he had pictures of, well, he said he had pictures of me with dogs, children, and I can't remember what else. And I'll tell you what, after a while, I started to wonder whether he did. I started to actually think, have I molested a child? I started to think about, I feel a bit crazy. I've had a couple of direct messages. Okay, so let me have a look. I don't know if they're private or not. People are saying that the kitty is levity, which is good. I understand that. I'll pick up my puppy in a minute. We are talking about something really serious. Trigger warnings are always around these. Do I have any advice if you're going to concerned about bumping into a toxic ex at a kink party or munch? I'm going to come to that, all of that, I promise. I think my ex is still involved in the community, and it's a small community. I'm trying not to cause drama, but at the same time, I'm concerned they shouldn't be involved in any fashion based on past behaviour. And then people saying it's terrifying what people can find about you if they really try. Tom says, when my ex-wife stalked me, the police told me that I'm a combat veteran and sort it out myself. Start complaining more. Like, when doctors or police don't give you what you need, am I saying this is fair? No, of course it isn't. Go again, go again, go again, go again. You have to. And you have to prove that you're going, and then you have to escalate it and make complaints. It's the same with doctors. It's the same with all sorts. When I took my second youngest in with all sorts of problems, I kept telling me she had anxiety. I'm not against anxiety. The kid didn't have anxiety. She had normal anxiety levels over her GCSEs and everything else as well. And it wasn't till I screamed across the hall to a pregnant doctor that I turned around and people took note. And then they said, and I had a meeting with the main doctor, and I said, I'm going to do you a favor. Give this child a blood test. She was 14 at the time. Give this child a blood test. If her blood test proved to be absolutely okay and there's nothing wrong, I'll leave your doctors, because I'm a fucking mental person for you right now. I appreciate that. However, if there proves that there's something wrong, you can fucking apologize. How about we do that? And this is a friend, this doctor, I know him well, Tom. And he went, fine, Deb, we'll do that. They phoned me. She was taken into hospital immediately. She had no iron and she had no B12. She was about to collapse. Keep complaining. It's really important that you do. Don't stop. I understand it's really hard when we try to get people who aren't well to advocate for their wellness, or we get people who aren't mentally or emotionally strong enough to advocate for their wellness. It's not fair. Get friends involved, get others involved, get people to do things, and get local communities on the case as well to try and get some help. Jim's like, what 3 words is a great tool? So what 3 words is a small app that you can get. It gives you 3 words for even for your home, where you live, for everything. So people can know exactly where you are. And it's fantastic if you're going to go out on a boat, or you're going to go somewhere really extreme and remote that maps might not have mapped in some way, shape or form. So Simmers is really right about that. Jim says, if I meet someone for the first time, I tell them to take a photo with their phone of my driving license. Yeah, I really get that, because it gives safety. So you can say, I am genuine, I am safe. I've asked people for a picture of their passport before if I'm not sure about them. I really ask for major stuff nowadays. I sound like a crazy person sometimes. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. And if they don't want to meet me, I'm even more happy with that. That's okay. So Dom arrived to say, you know that I'm genuine and they are safe. Oh, that makes sense. Gotcha. Good. So please make sure you can ask for an order against people. Fucking hell, trying to get an order in the UK. Good luck with that. It takes a fucking lot. And if you have to go for a small one, it's going to cost you money as well. So it's really, really difficult. So Memoria says, write to the superintendent in charge of the patch, write to the police and crime commissioner, got fantastic results. That's what I say. Don't give up, take it up, take it up, take it up. If it's a school and it's not happening, go to the governing body, go to the board of governors, go to the headmaster. If they're not doing it, go to the local, keep going up. People will start to communicate to go up. If you keep telling a stalker that you do not want any contact or anyone hassling you, don't keep telling them. Tell them once and once only. Please, I've got some pictures here, right? Oh God, I wonder if I took these the other day. Right, where are they? Right, so this is a person contacting me. I don't know if you can see that particularly, but I'll read them out. Hi, how are you? So I got this message on WhatsApp. Hi, sorry, who is this? I'm John. You was on my WhatsApp, spelt really badly, question mark. I think we spoke somewhere once. And I said, okay, can I ask why you're contacting me now? I've been working away and I couldn't before. And I said, well, I'm sorry, I don't believe that excuse. Of course, anyone can. Please leave me alone. Please delete my number. We could be friends. I'm looking for a good friend. I apologize. I don't know how that was spelled. That was very strange. No, thank you. Please do as I ask. Why? That's the next one. For fuck's sake, do you understand? No. Consent. Do as I ask, please delete my number. I'm going to block you. You tell me where you know from. Fucking hell, mate, stop. I like your picture. You're really pretty. You are harassing me, because that's the truth. Goodbye, you're blocked. He didn't block me. I blocked him on my phone. And the next thing I know, I turn around and on my computer in front of me, because his phone number isn't blocked on my computer, I get most people that appear on WhatsApp never give their name, as that means they're not honest and don't want to talk. And I went, for fuck's sake, I've just blocked you on my phone. And then he wrote back, I'm a good person. I'm not like the others. Anyone appears was looking for a friend, they're dishonest. And I blocked again on my phone, and I haven't heard anything since. Now, I could not say that he's harassing me unless I stop replying. This is why I did it. I did it exactly for today. I can show you. You're really pretty. Yeah. Oh, good. Thanks. The reason I did it, I thought this is so interesting. I'm about to talk about harassment. Because I engaged, I don't have any rights to stop him. When I have 3 unwanted messages, I can then report him and do something. That's it. Right, so what are people saying? So the issue I have when I go to the police is my ex will go to the police with made up stories. It's kind of put me off, because when I do something, she'll up the ante herself. You can go to the police privately, and you can keep going and going and going. You can register things with crime numbers, and you don't have to ask for it to be prosecuted. However, if you put something in the hands of the police and they think they have a case, they can prosecute without your agreement. So you need to be very careful about what you want, what that looks like, and what that means. Keep written records and documentation of everything that happens with dates and times. Yep. Did I say that already? I think I did. Keep a really important log. Ali said, I had a similar thing, fogginess, fatigue, mild hallucinations of sounds, amenorrhea, etc. Was told I was depressed and needed surgery, which made me feel suicidal. Turns out I was anemic and sorted with iron tablets. I had the simple blood test after months of appointments and at least 15 pregnancy tests. Look, advocate of mental health, this is my fucking living. Always have the biological checked out first, because it can even be things like something in your brain and all sorts of other things. Let's just make sure first. I don't go with, oh my God, let's diagnose you with something mental. No, let's go physical first and check you out fully. So red flags are really important. Anyone who says they're a good person isn't, I'm sick of hearing it. I'm different. Good, so is everybody else. How does that work? I like your picture, you're pretty. Yeah, exactly. It's just fucking mental, isn't it? All of it. So you can say, like I did, do not contact me in any way whatsoever anymore. I do not want you to contact me or come on my property or come within 20 feet of me. If you do, I will call the police. You can say things along the lines of, this relationship is over, I'm done, I'm not going to change my mind, do not contact me again. I do not want any form of communication with you. If you do not listen to me, I will phone the police and or take legal action. However, you can't always disengage, and you can't always cease and desist on communication. So that causes a real problem too. So some people, it might be that it is an ex-partner, like Kinky Dick is saying, and actually you could turn around and say that that person is has children with you or needs money or different things. So you also need to speak to somebody who's really organised with a charity. Please, if you are followed, give a picture of your stalker to people all around you. So if you're being followed, do something about it. Save voicemails, do anything you need to do. Contact your colleagues is what they might do. That's lovely, isn't it? They'll contact your family and friends. They might show up where you are. They might show up at your home, all sorts of things. I was taken very seriously. I had an emergency box in my house, but if I said a code word, it would immediately phone the police, and they would come around within a set period of time, because they considered me at risk, because he was known under Clare's law. My second stalker was known under Clare's law. This is the other thing. You can check things like Clare's law, check laws in your area to see if this person is known for having committed domestic violence or anything else before, because you can. So you need to think about these things. Please make sure, if you find that the person has been somewhere, get a log, ask the people to CCTV, that sort of stuff. You can get logs of that as well. And you can go for protective orders, but what else can you do? If you need to leave your house really quickly, have a small bag ready to go. Please, again, inform your neighbours with their vehicle details, with their car details, whatever vehicle they drive, like, or have, bike, whatever. Do those things. And honestly, make sure you know how to get out. Don't always keep all of your windows locked. Make sure they can't get from the outside, but you can open them quickly from the inside. Just just, I get that this stuff is scary. Statistically, it's very unlikely to happen to you, and the sort of harassment we get is the sort of harassment that Kinky Dick is getting, but I wanted to cover all of it. So please be careful about giving your information, because as soon as you start to, it starts to cause issues. And then that's when it's not funny. So we then need to take action. What can we do? So what is harassment? Harassment is unwanted phone calls, unwanted letters, unwanted emails, unwanted visits, abuse, bullying online or in person. Anything, so as I said, anything that's unwanted in any way, shape or form. Stalking comes under harassment. If you get verbal abuse or threats, or people talking about you, or if they harass you, they turn up with 3 fucking really frightening dogs or something, phone the police straight away. You can also have a look at hate crime. If you are transgender, queer, if you are of a different race to the person harassing you, or your race is protected, or your religion is, or you have a disability, you can report it as a hate crime, and that's very different to harassment, and you'll get more protection for that. They just tried to make misogyny a hate crime, and Boris Johnson said no in the UK. So you need 2 incidents to classify as harassment, 2 to 3 by the same person or a group, in order for it to be considered some form of harassment. I want you lot to think about that. Who here has had an argument with somebody and sent over 2 unwanted texts to that person ever without a reply? Anyone? I have. Harassment. Be fucking careful, honestly, because I have. I don't know about you lot, but I certainly have. You send 3 or 4 things and you go, well, you're a fucking cunt, aren't you? Fancy doing that? An hour later, fucking answer me, you twat. What are you? But like, we all lose our temper sometimes, don't we? We all have these kind of feelings. Be careful. 2 incidents by the same person. Remember what I said just a minute ago. Unwanted phone calls, messages, letters, emails, or visits. If a person says to you, please don't contact me again, don't go, well, why not? For God's sake, I want to talk to you about this. 3rd message, we've been talking about this for ages. You are guilty of harassment more than once, because I know I am. We all are, aren't we, on some level? So be careful. It's an interesting thing. Alcohol, mobile phones are dangerous shit. Lock your phones in a certain way. Honestly, do something different. You can take civil court action. If you do take civil court action, it has to be done within 6 years of the last harassment noted or registered. You can't do it anyway. You can get injunctions. Injunctions cost money. And injunctions, they do. Justice Secretary said misogyny is a crime, whether it's against women or men. Yeah, but they're saying it's not a hate crime. They're saying it is a crime. You can also be harassed and victimized by landlords, by work colleagues, by creditors, by all sorts of people. Our sort of stuff is what we're talking is more about exes and people online. So you also get cyberbullying. That, you know, anything that can't be very nice, you can report that to people. Please go to all the bullying charities as well. There are great charities for bullying, especially if it's online, so we can start to go there. So it's how we start to look at these things. Look up Citizens Advice Bureau. They really try and help you. Look for what's happening, because I mean, don't forget, harassment can also be in a joke continuously. Like if you turn around and say, let's not even take it as a joke, right? If you turn around and say, oh, I'm non-binary, I identify as they, please. All right, love. I think you'll find I just asked you, like, not, you know, I'm non-binary, it's really important to me. I'm not, I'm just giving an example. Fuck off, nice pair of tits, whatever. So physical gestures, images, graffiti, all sorts of things can all count, especially if it's against us in some way, shape or form. So you have to be very careful. And harassment can also be unlawful discrimination if it comes across your, I think it's to do, as I say, gender reassignment, age, sexuality, sex, all of those things. I can't remember the others. Religion. So that makes a difference. And I say Equalities Act has protected characteristics. You can, if you are harassed for breastfeeding, that's considered sexual harassment. Who knew that, eh? So if somebody's harassing you, or you're seeing someone who is being harassed for breastfeeding, or recently given birth or something along those lines, it still classifies as sex, which is interesting. Not a lot of people know that one. It has to violate your dignity in some way, shape, or form, or it has to create an intimidating, hostile, or unwelcoming, degrading, humiliating environment that feels offensive to you. That sounds like most of my nights at home if I'm given the opportunity. So make sure you get that definition right. It's all about consent. Zoe says, oh, sorry, Karis says, it'll be misandry in that case. Point being, it can't be against men. They don't really care or no, says Nemoria, and that was Karis's response. So he says, so I'm avoiding someone off the scene because he was inappropriate on a few occasions. I've blocked him after a heated conversation, and I've since been told he was going to talk to me at an event because it's inevitable that we're going to meet at the event. So I don't feel comfortable being cornered at an event and chose not to go, and others agreed I did the right thing. Would this be harassment? No, it would not be harassment unless the person has done it more than 2 times. If somebody wants to talk to you, I feel a bit uncomfortable because I think that might be related to this situation, and so I think that's something. So I think it's important that if you don't want to be spoken to, say to the person once, I do not want to be spoken to in any way, shape, or form at any event or what we do. Make it absolutely clear. And then I hope that the person listens to that. But sometimes what happens is we try and make things nice. If you're a person who's trying to make something nice to make it better, don't do that, because you can be considered a harasser. So we have to be careful. Yeah, we really do. Kinky Dick says, what about somebody who doesn't contact you directly? In my case, she often it's almost social media accounts and creates sock puppet accounts when I block her. The main issue for me is the crazy and wild rumors she's spreading. I find myself banned from lots of play events because people have heard stories and want to be cautious, which I can understand. Yes, it's slander, but please say it's a civil matter. It is a civil matter. And that's part of the problem as well. So all you can do is contact the same people and say, actually, I'm being harassed. Of course, see, the problem here is Kinky Dick. I've got a bit of an obsession with Steve Wilkos. Judge me, all of you, right? I don't know if you know who he is, but you know, he does those lie detector tests in America, does the videos of, were you physically abusing your sister, or did you hate my child? What did you do? So he does all of those. I went from New York to Southern there straight away. So he does all of those sorts of videos and those sorts of things. So I think what you've got to do is be very interested in how much people say, but it's not me, I didn't do it. This is not about you, Kinky Dick. This is for both of you, okay? This is the problem that we have. It's really difficult to then turn around and say that we have a problem, that something's going to happen. So we have to be really careful about what we're doing and what it means. Your best thing is to block all contact. Your best thing is once you blocked and you can't do any more, it's really horrible. There is nothing you can do unless you make it a civil matter. You can get friends. You can get friends to vouch for you. You can ask for people to say things in a certain way. You kind of have to listen to somebody. Why are they having such a go at me? What's my part in this? What did I do wrong? What's the difference here? What happened? And I realize I've gone on about this for about an hour because it's such a huge subject and I could still go on about it for hours. So if you feel strongly, Kinky Dick, that this person is really backmouthing and doing all of those things, do great things on the scene, do other things to counter that so other people get to know you, because you can't fight your corner in a limited way. You can't fight it out of a box. So set things up, be really nice to people, get a reputation as well, because honestly, as somebody who is part of a crew, we hear both sides eventually, not always up front. But if you go in blazing and angry and speak to somebody who's like, for fuck's sake, and you get cross about it, it won't get you anywhere. If you come and have a conversation and get in contact with somebody who is maybe running a club or running something and saying, I would like a decent conversation with you because actually I'm sure you understand that actually this harassment goes both ways and actually I'm being harassed. Would you be open to a conversation? And if they say no, walk away. And then do something really nice, be known as a nice person, and eventually that can make a difference as well, because there is very little that you can do. So I think it's important. You cannot stop other people from attending events. If everyone's bought a ticket and everyone's happy and it's a disagreement between two people, which by the way, most of these things are, they're not even harassment. They don't fall under these things. It's really okay. We all have to learn to be adults and not talk at these things. No, and that would be fine. So Zoe, that's what I would recommend for you and this person. Be at the event. Don't make any contact. Don't give bitchy looks. That's to both people. That's not you, just because I use the word bitchy, because bitchy is absolutely around all genders. So, don't do anything. Don't backmouth. Don't keep looking. Don't roll eyes. don't. All of that is quite aggressive. So, and that can make a difference, but there's very little we can do. What we have to be known is that I've had a few people tell me I'm a shit therapist and I'm unethical and I've ruined people's lives. However, what you will find is 99% of my other clients will say that's not true. So I have to go with that. So those people do talk about me on the scene and say, I wouldn't go anywhere near her. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do that. Because maybe I've held a boundary. There was one person who I was at a lamb event and I just bought this really unusual hitting strop thing, which was illegal because it had pound coins riveted into it. It was based on one that he'd found from the 1800s that was used to hit somebody with, probably a wife. And it was a handled piece of leather with metal bits, studs in it, old coins. So I had one made with pounds. It's fucking amazing. And this person who is my client came up to me out of nowhere, took it out of my hand and said, what's this? Okay, that's interesting because I've got agreements as to what we do in public with all of my clients. If you ask anyone who's seen me, how do you want me to treat you in public? What would it look like? How much contact will we have? What do we do? Are questions I ask every single motherfucking one. What would this look like? Oh no, I'm fine, be my friend, whatever. Okay, great. So it varies. Took it out my hand and then she gave it back to me and she said, hit me with it. And I said, now people don't know she's my client either. I said, no, I'm really not in the mood for hitting. I'm not gonna say that's really inappropriate for my client because I just fucking outed her as my client. I'm now in a beautiful catch-22 situation. And she turned around and she said to her partner, will you hit me with it? And he whacked her with it. And then I sort of took it back and it's got her blood on it now and everything. I'm like, oh my God. And the next week I completely pulled her up on it, told her how inappropriate she was, said, I'm really thinking about whether she can be my client or not. And she said, well, and then she was late for that session by far. And then we had 10 minutes left at the end. Anyone who's my client knows I have a 20-minute deadline. It's written, it's really clear. If you don't turn up in that 20 minutes, I will not see you afterwards. Anyone who's a client or has been knows that. It's very, very set. It's written. It's in my terms and conditions. She started phoning me at 1:45. The session finished at 10:02 and I said, I'm not going to answer. I'm really sorry. This is the final straw for me. You fucking, and she was just about to start a course that I've just done. So she's probably going to be out there as a psychosexual psychotherapist soon. I hope she'll out herself. Like, you know, because it happens everywhere we go, this sort of stuff, you know, and it does. So all we can do is be the slightly better person and to be reasonable. It might make you feel more powerless that you can't do anything. My mum used to say to me, the truth always out. And she's right, the truth does out. However, what some people don't like is that mixture between what's your truth and what's someone else's truth. And when a couple break up or when people do those things, sometimes it's all about disagreements and it's not so nice things. That's slightly different. When someone is back-mouthing you and trying to cause issues, that's slightly different again. People disagree. Let's agree to disagree. That's okay. Raven said, I had a stalker who used to park up at 2 a.m. to watch the house. All his ex-dummy references on Kik were him. As for all the emails, he still uses different phones to ring me at 4 a.m. occasionally, and he's blocked across the board. Yeah, the stalker I had I don't know, he would even borrow phones. He would be quite shocking, and emails and send me messages and stuff. And actually the police ended up, they did talk to him at one stage because they got through and he said, well, I've got videos of her. And they were brilliant. They said, brilliant, show us, because if they're illegal, we'll arrest her. He went, yeah, well, I can. I'll meet you at Victoria Station. They're in the locker. They went, no, just give us the locker reference. We can go in. It's not a problem. And he went, yeah, but the phone in there and the phone is broken. That's not a problem. If they're emails or she sent them to you, we'll still have, you know, registered. So tell us what the number is. Yeah, but the phone's really broken. Okay, we can still get stuff. It's not a problem. So let us know where it is. Let us know what we can do, and we'll get these child videos, because apparently I was having sex.
Paris, stop it.
And he turned around and he then said, oh no, because it's too damaged, you now can't find anything on it. Come on, like, you know, but honestly, you can start to go really mad about these things. It really gets to you. You need support. Go and see a therapist. Go and talk to somebody. Have your friends around you. Feel safe in your home. Thinking about him, my back door's open here. I've got another big back door there that's open, and my front door is open and it's not locked and it's already gone dark. Thinking about him makes me go, think I'm going to need to lock everything. So like, that's what it does to you. That's how much it impacts you. So again, you've got to be very careful about these things because it's fucking shitty. And as Dominant Ivory says, don't take my shit out of my hands. There were a few people there, even from LAM actually, and I bet they don't even know who this person was, and they wouldn't know that she was my client. I can't tell you how uncomfortable I felt. I felt it was absolutely horrendous, and that's a really small thing, let alone people doing different things. But let's go on to the next one. Let's talk about scat. And now, oh my God, Debs, go lock your door. No, I'm all right. I actually feel okay, and I'm not going to give in to that. I'm not going to give in to that because that's fear related and I'm not interested. I'm not interested in living my life according to somebody else to stop me from doing what I want to do. Like, for example, for kinky dick, if you aren't blocked in some places, go to those places, go and do those things and have a really good time at them and show everyone what a lovely person you are. That will make a huge difference too. Make a difference about what you're doing and how you're doing it. Let people get to know you and like you. However, can people pretend to be liked? Well, I was going to say that about the Steve Wilkos. You know, you look at people before they take the lie detector test. I mean, they're really convincing, some of them, and then they blatantly fail, and you think, oh God, how did that happen? Or, yeah, I believe it so far. I believe it so far. No, it's wrong. It must be wrong. And you're like, yeah, but it's not. Like, I can't believe that. And then there are some awful things in there about children and all sorts of stuff. But it really is all quite shocking, isn't it? It's absolutely horrible. But we can really believe people. I think it's really difficult. We tend to believe people who tell us things. I don't think we should believe purely on gender. I don't think we should believe purely on someone's word. I think we have to find quite an interesting balance amongst those and work out what the fuck is going on here when we're told something. It's really important to keep your senses about you and to work out what that means. Okay, let's have a little bit look about coprophilia. So coprophilia is all about scat. It's all about shit. If you're going to be triggered by this, tune in half an hour or so. However, do I think this is relevant for you, even if you don't have a scat fetish? Yes, because if you do anal, this stuff comes in. Zoe, I changed my phone number, email moved away for a while. It really does fuck you up sometimes. It absolutely does, but it's how much power we give people to. I moved over 600 miles away from my stalker over 14 years. That finally stopped him. That was the first time I ever felt safe. It's really sad, isn't it, that we have to go that far and what we have to do. It really is. Talk about drinking the brown stuff. See what I did there? That was a good segue. Right, so it honestly is just Coke. I don't have a scat fetish. I really don't. Actually, the thought of shit makes me feel sick. I couldn't have you shit on my chest. I couldn't have you shit in my cunt. I couldn't have you shit in my mouth. I don't want to. It makes me feel sick. However, lots of people.
God, you're a real wimp.
Yeah, I know. I'm copying out there. It's not for me. That's not a judgment to not say it's right or wrong. However, I do want to talk about the pros and cons of scat and why we should think about it. So what is in your shit? Let's start with that one, okay? Because this is really important. Feces is mainly water. Debs, I can't believe you just said that. Which bit? Which bit? So it's 75% of water. However, that can vary. If you're highly constipated, it's going to be less. If you've got the shits, it's going to be a hell of a lot more. So that makes a difference as well. Anyone who's a vegetarian or a vegan has a higher water content in their shit than people who eat meat, carnivores in any way, shape or form. And fiber has a really good high water carrying capacity. I think they're the right words or whatever. So that's why we should have a lot of fiber, because it increases how often we go. The other aspect of feces, when you make it up, is made up of solids. Those solids are organic, related to living matter, and some of it will be inorganic, and that means things like calcium, calcium phosphate, and maybe some, like the way your digestive juices have worked their way through and they might have solidified and stuck in with what was going through. I can't remember the proper chemical name for that, the biological name, so I apologize. So some kind of digestive stuff. However, most of it, that bit, so omnivores have more lipids, carbs, or what, as opposed to water. This is what we're going through. It will be made up of more living matter material, and it will also be made up of organic material, which is microbes. That's dead and living microbes. So your shit is anywhere between 20 to 50% bacteria and viruses. This is what your shit is made out of. There are so many studies on this. There is so much research into this. So if you have less fiber and more protein, you have a lower water content. So that's what it will be made up of that's different. It is lovely, isn't it? It's absolutely gorgeous. So they reckon, what's the percentage? They reckon that the percentage, or they reckon, research has proven, if you look at different studies, that there are 1 billion bacteria per gram of fecal matter. 1 billion, no, that's wrong. 100 billion bacteria per gram. That's what they reckon is in your shit. I mean, feel free to, I'm glad I finished my ice cream earlier. It was chocolate flavour. I do like chocolate sauce on my strawberry and like, no, I get it. So how hard your feces is determines, or how soft your feces is, determines what sort of bacteria and lives in there and what sort of samples can make a difference. So you can get, so there's this bacteria called Provotella bacteria, and that's found in your mouth and your vagina and your gut, but it's also found in very soft feces. So you will have Provotella if you are a vegetarian. It's much more likely, things like that. Of course you didn't. No, I didn't. This was asked for. This was asked for. This doesn't come out of me in any way, shape or form. So we also have different gut microbes that help break things down. So they come out as well at the same time. We have all these things. Viruses are less studied, but they reckon there are 100 million to 1 billion per gram as well. So got a different, of course, that completely changes when you have the shits or you have vomiting in any way, shape or form, because then I think the stats are you can get some upwards of 1 trillion per gram when you've got some kind of infection, virus or anything else as well. You can look this stuff up, it's all there. So there are lots of different things. Plus, there are certain viruses that are attributed to different things. Like my dad has Crohn's, or he did. He's got burnt out Crohn's now. So a lot of people burn out Crohn's. What do they get? If any of you have Crohn's or have had it or know about it, or like ulcerative colitis, which is often a precursor to Crohn's, and they can often go together. So if we have those sort of diseases, you'll get different forms of bacteria. I'm sure there are many studies. Does anyone have a link? Maybe I'll write you some. I'll put them on. Oh, Jesus, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'll try and remember to put them on FetLife. Maybe I'll have a look later because I've got them all somewhere. You then have different things. You have different forms of bacteria. So you'll have extreme bacteria. There's certain bacteria that live in things like flower water that can make you incredibly ill, which is the same bacteria that also lives in soap scum. And if you need an antibiotic to that, you're going to have an injection. And you can find some, I think they're like RK or like really old, like an archaeological dig type name from what I remember. So they are very, very old bacteria, and they're found in places like, thank you, okay, are you a doctor or something, or know this stuff? Thanks, because I'm not. So like I forget some of this stuff a lot of the time. Yes, well, thank you very much, Al, there you go. So, and they are found in extreme places like hot springs and different places as well, and they live in our human gut as well sometimes. I just had a private message. Okay, with you, I've got that. Thank you very much. So we also have methane producing type archaea. They make a real difference as well. That's what happens when we are. So it's funny, isn't it? Because we talk about methane and gases in the environment. The more that there is and the way that it works slows down your intestines, and it doesn't work as well. So we also have fungi, yeast, and different things in our shit as well that makes a real difference. So all of that includes carbohydrates, undigested plant matter. Nemoria's put something up, thank you. You get protein, undigested fats. So feces don't have massive amounts of carbohydrates because we tend to absorb those. So everyone says, oh, avoid carbohydrates. Don't avoid carbohydrates. That's a really stupid thing to do. It is not good for you. However, undigested comes through as dietary fiber. Characterization of feces and urine. Thank you very much. Aren't we talking about lovely stuff? And also a little bit in our fecal matter is oh God, nitrogen based. substances, and fat is in there too. We also actually, because we drink not from a can, but when you drink from a plastic bottle, what they found is with plastic is that you can identify plastic in people's stools if we use a lot of plastic. It's a reason not to have plastic, isn't it? It's quite interesting. So that hasn't been studied either very much yet. And of course, your fecal matter is also very different. You have different diseases, different illnesses, different viruses, and different treatments. So like, for example, if you are having chemo, your fecal matter and your urine are impacted for 1 to 2 days after you have had chemo. So don't go eating someone's shit or drinking someone's piss if they're in the middle of chemo, for example, should you eat it anyway. Oh God, that's interesting, isn't it? So is it harmful in any way to ingest feces or urine in any way, shape or form? I have a massive writing on drinking piss. That's a completely different thing. Nemoria will probably find it right now. And that covers everything. And I've had urologists talk to me on FetLife and say, well done, that is accurate. Thank you very much. I think you find I wouldn't write it if it wasn't. It's really important to me to do my research on shit. Talking of which, Andy says, I bumped into Gillian McKeith, the Scottish lady, I know who she is, an HMV on the Perth. Yay, my life is complete. Did you offer to shit for her? Al says, there is something called the gut-brain axis. There certainly is. A bacteria in your gut makes serotonin. It's believed to be transported to your brain. The argument is that your gut bacteria actually makes more serotonin, or just as much, than your brain does. And actually your gut bacteria probably weighs more than your brain does too. So there's lots of interesting stuff that's around about this stuff. So we know that there are harmful organisms in feces. We know that there are harmful organisms in urine. We ask you to wash your hands after you have been to the toilet, do we not? And if you wipe your ass and a tissue breaks, we're probably going to ask you, please make sure. It used to be that we told people to drink piss and eat shit. It used to be, we used to turn around and say, this is medical. This is a really good idea. You should do this. It isn't. We used to talk about yellow soup. We used to talk about piss being the answer for growing your hair, for example, and all sorts of stuff. There is also a very big difference between eating your own shit, autocorophagia, and eating someone else's, which is allocorophagia. So most research is done on people who eat their own, not on people who eat somebody else's. For example, if you have very extreme IBS, one of the most recent forms of treatment is that you clear out your system, you take somebody's fecal matter that isn't impacted by IBS, and that is put into your bowel, bottom up, and the idea is to create a different flora and a different situation for your fecal matter to change. So we've got to be careful. You can get things like, if you want to start looking at diseases, you can get Hepi, polovirus, Shigella, SETC. You can get all sorts of things. Anal, oral, anal. Oh my God, you can get some really serious different bits and pieces. So I think people really have to be careful about choosing to do this sort of stuff. Because if you do this sort of stuff, you are much more likely to have some form of bacterial or viral infection if you eat somebody else's shit, and even if you eat your own. So I do think we have to be careful. When we talk about things like Shigella, it can make us feel really unwell, like dysentery. It's that sort of basics or principle. It's a bacteria, if you have a look at it, if you look it up, Shigella. Ayrshire says, Adonis says, I have been having BCG treatment for bladder cancer, and it's that toxic they tell you to put bleach into the loo after a pee and leave for 50 minutes before flushing the loo. One of my chemo treatments was bright red. I felt like when they put these massive syringes into my PICC line, and I was like, oh my God, look at that. Like it's horrendous. And I pissed it out. It was bright red. And I was like, fuck, that's so contaminated and awful, but really important. So if you, and so I really agree with that. So be really careful about what you do. Nemoria's put the link to my piss drinking golden showers, water sports, everything you want to know about piss. I don't know if I want to write one about everything you want to know about shit. I could do if it's really, really wanted. Domina says, fecal matter transplants have shown promise for a few chronic illnesses as well because of all that good gut flora they bring out with them. Apparently it's only beneficial if done under very specific medical circumstances. Not recommended. There are a couple of clinics, they're not even really that, they are medical, but it's not recognized as a proper medical intervention yet. it is quite DIY. So we do have to be careful. We have to be careful about the sort of things that we're going to catch and we're going to give each other when we do that. Too soon needs more research. Needs a shit ton more research. Get it? Shit ton. Right. So also what you've got to remember in your shit as well are parasites and different things as well, because animal feces have parasites, and we do. And you can have parasites in your shit as well, depending. And how long does it last? If you don't have the environment or food inputs that particular microbial soup wants, exactly, it is a temporary solution. So we have to be very careful. So we do have parasites. If we take something from somebody else who has some form of parasite, we've got to be very careful. So Giardia, cryptosporum, I can never get that word right, I can never say it correctly. Al will probably correct me in some way, shape or form, which is good. And also hepatitis A in your liver. Deborah, use your words. It can come from ingested contaminated feces as well. So please be careful. You might not be sick at all. You might be fine, but Hep A isn't funny. You don't want it. Norovirus is also passed on through feces. So like when we have a norovirus that's going around a school or a nursery, please don't bring your child in for 24 hours, for 48 hours. Please wash your hands all the time. Children tend to do stuff, don't they? They put things in their mouths and they play with all this shit. And then we make sure that they're safe by washing them out and making sure. So we can get parasites and all sorts of things as well. There is a piece of research into the disgusting recently. I've got it on my phone, actually. I need to find it. But Luna, I don't know where she is. She's gone. The puppy's asleep. So, but Luna's just disappeared. So I don't know where she is, but she has coprophilia. She'll often eat her own shit. And I stop her, grab it really quickly, try and make sure that she doesn't do it, because it can make her sick and it's hideous. And if you have a dog who's being sick with her own feces, it is not a pleasant sick, trust me. It is. Phil's face just went, oh, come on, Deb. Jerry, so now we all know how much more than we did before about the science and physiology. What I don't know is what poo represents to people who are into sort of scatking. Okay, so let's talk about coprophilia and why. So let's talk about it. Some people get sexual excitement from eating shit. I'm foreign, so I'll be the last to correct anyone's accent. Also, my partner thinks I'm way too interested in the scat talk. Oh, God. Can I tell you I've got a Swiss passport? I really have, look. Swiss passport. See? So I can claim I'm not English at all. Right, so I don't know why it's right there, it just is. That's quite funny. Right, so why are people attracted to shit? Why are people sexually aroused in some way, shape or form around shit? Is it deviance? Yes, it can be. There's a really good book by Milner. I can't remember the year, but it's all about sexual deviance. I'm foreign, so yeah, sorry, it's a big plus. Cass is laughing at you. So if you look at a few things about why people are attracted to certain things, this is a paraphilia. So people get sexual pleasure from this in some way. Why do we get it? If we shit on somebody else, if somebody shits on us, mouths and all sorts of different things as well. There is so little scientific research on this particular paraphilia. This is one of the least researched ones that there is around. Why? Because it's rare. It is really rare. So there are some films about it. There are different things that we have. And actually, there are famous people who are into it in theory. Adolf Hitler was one, people thought as well, a while ago. He used to like that. And so people have researched what it means. They had a look at people who were into it and why. There was a piece of research done in... God, when was it? I can't remember the year. I'll try and remember. It was from Finland. That's what I remember. I'll have to look it up. I'm really sorry. So it's all about like some form of deviant behavior. So zoophilic sadomasochists are people who are into zoophilia or animals are more likely to be into corophilia as well. The two go hand in hand. Why? We know that people like things like this because of their history, because of their past, because of something that happened in some way, shape or form. It might be one of the lads who was interviewed for the book said he felt so uncomfortable when he was shitting because it hurt him, because he was really heavily constipated. He would masturbate to make it feel better so he could get over it and overcome it. So he related masturbation with shitting. Orgasm with shitting, and he liked it. It can be related to different things. It can be related to if your parents are really heavy about certain things. You know, don't get that on your underwear. You maybe got a spanking if you've got skid marks or all sorts of things. So it's really interesting what brings this out for people. It's the associations we make some time ago. That's my, yeah, that's my really medical, proper research professional self coming out there, for Christ's sake. I'm brilliant at this, aren't I? So what we're talking about is it's about conditioning in some way, shape or form. You could be born that way in some way, shape or form, I don't know. It's often a maladaptive response or a maladaptive sexual response. And people don't like that because I'm having a go at their sexuality. But you could argue that kink is that as well to a certain extent. So why do we have it? What are we doing? So why do we like it so much? Is really difficult to say. How can somebody have this in any way, shape or form that they like it? So why does somebody have it, a poop fetish? It's hard, isn't it? Coprophilia, coprophagia, I think that's what it's called as well. So we have had a look at it, but it is rare. You have to be aroused by it. Is it connected to people into ABDL in some cases? It could be if they get sexually aroused by shitting into their nappy. If they don't get sexually aroused by shitting into their nappy, then it's not coprophilia. It's they're still being a little, they need the bottom done. So that's the difference. It's all about sexual arousal. So you have to be aroused by something. That's what BDSM is all about as well. But why is it that we like this? Well, people like to do different things. We like to do unusual things. We like to try things. A lot of us don't admit it. I mean, who here has ever pissed in the shower? Have you? Yeah, quite a few people have.
Every day.
People don't always admit it. Aphasia is eating, philia is loving. Yeah. So what we've got to look at here as well is, like, for example, if I then turn and said to you, well, who here has masturbated and tasted their own cum? There's people putting their hands up. Some, less. Interesting. Who here has picked their nose, had a look at it and eaten it? Oh, now we've got even less people putting their hands up, because what we're talking about here is the level of shame goes up with different things, whereas a lot of us have. Sometimes is somebody, this is the thing with most philias in some way, shape or form, why we love something psychologically, is when something happened, something else was associated with it. So we were turned on in some way and we happened to look at mummy's shoes. Now we like shoes. And that can also happen of, you know, around shit as well. It really is. It makes very powerful associations in our brain in some way, shape or form. And then the reward pathway becomes that that's what makes me orgasm. And if that's what makes me orgasm, we go along the same reward pathway each and every time. So you know, you've got to be very careful, because also though, people really find shit repellent and sick. I mean, there are many people who induce vomiting during deep throating, and then the dominant will say, lick it up. Anyone do that? Would you lick up your own sick? Could you? Could anyone lick up their own sick here? No. Isn't it interesting, is it? No. You know, if you had a butt plug in and you pushed it out and there was fecal matter on it, would you be happy sucking it clean? Now we change to no, don't we? It's interesting, isn't it? But actually, if it doesn't look like there's fecal matter on it and it looks clean, would you eat it? Would you put it in your mouth to clean it? A lot more people say yes with that one. Actually, it's clean, there's nothing on it, but it comes out your ass and it goes in your mouth. I've just told you everything that's on there. That's what's there. Aisha Adonis, talking of skid marks a few years ago, there was a tale in the press of a Scottish wedding. For one picture, oh no, that's awful. The groom sat on the bride's knee as a true Scotsman. He had no underwear under his kilt, and as he rose, he left a huge mark on his bride's dress. Oh my God. Zoe, I won't be happy sucking it after it's been in my arse at all. However, it's a very asked after fetish. One of the strongest sets of following. She used to be called Dirty Lexi or whatever her name is, or I can't remember. She's changed her name recently. She has something like 380,000 followers, and she has a serious ass to mouth fetish. She's forever shitting out these huge balls and whatever. And whenever she's got a butt plug in, she'll always lick it clean. And she's a Lexi or some Lexi. She used to be. It's, yeah, that's interesting. Also, when you are turned on, what you have to realize is your disgust reflex is shut down. Listen to that again. When you are aroused, your disgust reflex shuts down. It makes a real difference. So, and if you think about that from years ago, if you think about how bad people used to smell, I mean, come on. People didn't wash. You had sex. They had sex. They shat. They pissed. They did all of those things. And they're crusted, thick, cheese-ridden knobs with half a ton of shit around them went inside you, and they hadn't cleaned their teeth for months and all those other things. And that's what you did. I mean, no wonder the laird in Scotland took his virgin rights on a bridal night. It's the one time she had a fucking bath. He was straight in there. I'm not saying that's okay, because it's actually horrendous. I get it, but I'm making a bit of a facetious joke about it. I do things in a submissive mindset that I wouldn't do when I'm not. Exactly. Did the best man make a joke of it? Oh, I don't know. That would be awful, wouldn't it? So, you know, we didn't have any of these things. So sex was disgusting, absolutely disgusting. And all its smells and everything else as well. I mean, rotting teeth, rotting mouths, rotting skin. When you think about the arsenic and all the other things we put on it, rotting hair. Oh my God. You know, like the amount of things that were rife then when it comes to STIs and STDs and creepy crawlies, whatever it is, it was all around. You know, it's your disgust reflex is muted when you are turned on, and you make very bad decisions as well. It's not just your disgust reflex that is muted, like, because you've got to be very careful. Plus, we can stimulate any fetish. You can think, oh my God, this is so naughty. This is so good. Dominant. I've never been so unhorny in all my life. But, you know, I quite like being pissed on and pissed in, actually. I will go for that one. I don't particularly want it up my arse. I quite like someone who can fuck me, come, and then piss it out of me. And then people go, oh, how can you like that, Deb? Don't like it. Jerry, masturbating porn. This is so hot. Orgasms. What is this disgusting stuff? Exactly. Oh my God, I can't. And shame starts to come in. So, and there are some traits, if we like a fetish, that makes a difference. Everyone's reactions you described are quite funny for those with cameras turned on. I know exactly. Some are like, and some are like, and some are like, It's like it's a real, I'm going to try that when I get home. I am home. Damn, I'm going to turn my camera off. Don't do that. Not here. Right. So that's the point, isn't it? So, but it could be that we're wired that way. So the brain, the part of the brain that lights up to pleasure and response, or our neural pathways that are pleasure, are very, pain and pleasure overlap quite a lot, which explains a lot of BDSM. But then pain and disgust are also very similar for some people in some ways, so that can come in too. So that makes a difference as well. So it's a very complex question, I think, for people, and all different about it. So, but as again, there is not a lot of research on this. There are some in the old DSM. It used to be a paraphilia diagnostic criteria. That's the way it was. How pain and disgust similar, where they're felt in the brain, the neural pathways that cross. I'll draw a Swiss flag in response to Jerry's comment above. I'll just do that. Oh my God, I've got a really old photo in here, actually. Should we have a look at it? Oh no, this is Kanan's passport. Mine's at the back. Oh, bless. That's not even my one. That's one of my daughter's. Shit, I better give it to her because she wants to renew it. So we've got to be really careful. We do know that sadomasochism and bestiality are very linked to coprophilia. That's interesting because that's as much as the research that there is. I'm sure if you fucking Wikipedia it will come up or something along those lines. Chuck Berry was quite well known for this. Hitler was well known for hit people. And you've got videos like, what was that? 2 girls, 1 cup, whatever it was. I never saw that one. I couldn't bring myself to watch it. Was it any good? Did anyone like it? Did it work for anyone? Did you all go, oh my God? But how many of you went, oh my God, and watched it till the end, you motherfucker? You always want to see it. That's the thing. That's the thing about disgust. We go, you know, I haven't watched it, not a chance. I kind of want to because I've heard people talk about it, but, you know, I don't know. Of course, arse to mouth is just as dangerous, and arse to cunt is even more dangerous. I was asked about that the other day. In a private message regarding to this, and you have to think about all those things, and it's so easy to slip into a cunt from an arse. Think about your positions, think about what you've got to do. If you want to have very safe anal sex with no or much less risk of slipping, for a start, probably put the man on his back, if it's a well, it depends if it's a real penis or a strap-on. If you have a real penis, put the lying down, you ride. You've got much more control as to how you do and what you do. Or take the missionary position. Again, you've got a lot more control. Use your hands to cover your cunt. Put something in your cunt. That will make a real difference. Put a dildo in. How could we know this about Hitler? Could it just be a smear campaign? Literally. That's really funny. I like that. Yes, it probably could be as well, but who knows? But yeah, it was there. So there are things that you can do to be careful, put something in. You can also make sure that you have wipes and different things around, make sure like pH balance and good wipes, have them across your cunt. Please be careful. If you have any form of slippage, like your temptation will be going to wash and to do all sorts of things, that's dangerous too. You can make sure you wash or flush with some warm water. That's about it. Don't do anything else in your cunt. Once you've fucked up the bacteria, it needs to come back. You are likely to get infections, and they can be things like thrush, bacterial vaginismus, and all sorts of different things as well. I've seen it in similar Two Girls, One Octopus. Really? I mean, was that a real octopus?
Yes.
So I've seen lots of those things because, I mean, for research purposes. Sorry, just laughing. Things with worms, things with eels, hamsters that have had their claws cut out, put in bags, all sorts of stuff. It's crazy what people do. Please be careful. Arse to mouth is really popular. Again, just as risque, just as problematic. Anyone got a link to Two Girls, One Octopus? I swear I'm asking for a friend. Oh, what would you do if you met somebody with 8 dicks? It's quite impressive, isn't it? Mind you, I'm talking to a man who sent me a picture of his dick earlier. Really, seriously, 9 inches and so thick it's crazy. I'm like, I don't think I could even sit on that. I think that will come out my teeth. And I've had 4 kids. I think I'd have a toothache. Anyway, okay, let's talk a little bit more now about STIs. Let's talk about types. Let's talk about different things that you can get and stigmas that happen. So let's talk a little bit about sexually transmitted illnesses or sexually transmitted diseases. This is the problem of sexually transmitted infections. Depending on where you live, what culture you live in, they all have those names, and in some it's considered offensive. So in some places you can't say disease, in some places you can't say infection. Fucking hell, like it just becomes too much. So you've got different things. You've got chlamydia. Chlamydia is a bacterial infection that affects men and women. However, people will not get many symptoms from it. It will not be very obvious. However, it is a silent disease that can also lead to some form of pelvic inflammatory disease, which can make women infertile. You have genital herpes. My God, when we start to look at genital herpes, I think there are 80 to 90 varieties. I might be wrong. Al will probably tell me. And that's a viral infection that causes blisters and ulcers. And you have also, I get cold sores, which is HSV. So HPV, HSV1 and HSV2. There are a hell of a lot more than those as well that happen. You've got to be really careful, because if I were to give you a blowjob when I had a cold sore, I could give you genital herpes. Please be careful about protection and greater protection. I really mean this, because I had a client once many years ago who was beautiful, young, voluptuous, sexy, everything that anybody would desire in somebody. She was beautiful and young. She was also very cross and very bitter and very angry. She thought that she'd been given herpes by somebody on purpose, so she was sleeping with a different man every week, unprotected, to make sure she was spreading it in the world and getting her own back. I went to the police did nothing. I refused to see her. I stopped seeing her because I'm not going to see her under those circumstances. She is physically hurting others. Nothing was done. And I was just like, you're left with that. And you think, well, what do I do now? What do I do now? So I put it on Facebook. I can't, because she's got anonymity by seeing me. Has she broken that anonymity because she's committed a crime? Fuck me. It's quite complex, isn't it? Anyway, so please be very careful, because there are some things that can be spread by blood, by skin contact, and by other things. You can give them the same kind of herpes you have on their genitals. I'm not sure which is which, but if you had oral herpes and gave someone a blowjob, kind of right. So that is what you can do. An infection is caused by a pathogen. Obviously, example, HIV. A disease is a bodily process gone wrong, e.g. AIDS. And you can still pass these things, can't you? So we'll go through them as we're going. So you've got to be careful is what I'm going to say. Even with oral sex, people say, I've been tested. I mean, okay, have you ever slept with somebody who said, yeah, I've been tested, if you haven't asked for the results? You didn't ask for you just believe their word. Anyone? Okay. Anyone ever here said, yeah, I've been tested, but they haven't really. It was about 6 months ago. It wasn't really 3 months ago, but you thought, fuck it, I've hardly done anything since. It doesn't matter. Anyone done that? No, I know people who have. Like, I genuinely like asked to see the fucking result. Like, say, can you show me? Can you prove to me? Can you tell me more? Because, oh God, people are lovely. They're not. Yeah, tested for what? What does that mean? What does it look like? When did it happen? You also have genital warts, and please, we've got to be very careful about HPV. It can cause all sorts of issues, especially for young women. It is a precursor for cancer if it comes up, and that's why we now have vaccinations, injections that help young women, hopefully before they're sexual. So, however, I think there are 80 to 90 different forms of warts as well. Like, what about the rest of things? Yeah, like, have you had a broad spectrum test, and what does it mean? You really have to look at it. You also have gonorrhea. Gonorrhea is a bacteria. It is a very nasty bacteria. What women are less likely to notice any symptoms than men. Please be careful about gonorrhea. A lot of these things that are coming back that were around in the past, we've got to be careful about how antibiotic resistant some of these things are. And some of these things are now becoming sexual. So we just please got to be careful. You've got hepatitis A. Hepatitis A can be spread as well, especially man on man. There is a vaccine against hepatitis A, so please go and get it. Hepatitis B is a viral infection. It's a major cause of liver disease, so cirrhosis, scarring, liver cancer. So please make sure that you get that too. Al, serious question. If you are going to be involved with a new partner and have no idea what to think about, as an adult, what vaccinations can I ask for that were not available 20 to 30 years ago? If you are going to be involved with a new partner and have no idea what to think about, as an adult, what vaccinations can I ask for that were not available to? I'm not quite sure I understand that, Al. Can you expand on that a little bit? I've missed something there. Sorry, my fault entirely. So hepatitis A, especially if you are a gay man, please think about making sure you can get a vaccine. And it's the same with genital warts, and there are others. The time frame is about last time I had sex. Okay, I get that. Holly Citrus, should you be testing if you've never been with anyone? I've always wondered, but I've gotten very different reactions from different people. If you want to turn around and say, I've had a test, even if you haven't been with somebody, lots of people want a negative test. Should you have to? No. Will people believe you? No, not always. So if you haven't been with anyone for quite a while, when you get a set of tests that come out, there are some that take a certain amount of weeks after having sex. Oh, nowadays there are HPV vaccines, Hep vaccines. Can I pay for these as an adult? Is it worthwhile to get? Okay, the research is interesting on this one. It depends on your age. If you are much older, it's absolutely not worth you getting. There is a middle stage where it is worth you getting. However, not all of them are very effective. So it's really worth going to see a doctor, or I would preferably go to a clinic, a sexual clinic near you, and I would really make sure. Yes, you can get some. However, things like the HPV vaccines won't cover all forms of HPV either. So that's the other thing, HPV are genital warts, and genital warts don't, where am I going? Genital warts don't always show in people, don't forget that. You might see them on a cock, you probably won't see them inside the vaginal wall, in the canal, because actually it's quite high. So you might not always see it, you might feel it. Kinky Smiley Kitty, I'm Polly. I have a nesting partner. They have another partner. I started seeing a new person. We asked for an STD testing for new partners. Turns out my new partner has HSV1. My nesting partner, his partner, and myself have expressed concerns. They myself do not have HSV1. We would like to keep it that way. I also have concerns, and my new partner doesn't want to give it to me. I find navigating this is tricky, but I do not feel it's impossible. I'm really sorry to tell you, Kinky Smiley Kitty, you are in the minority if you don't have HSV1. I can't remember what the exact figures are. I can't remember, it's 80 something plus percent. Most people have HSV1 in some way, shape or form, because they have been given something over the years in a different way. Not HSV2, which is genital, and all the others. I think there are 7 or 8 that go with that on top of that. Most people have some form of HSV in their system, and they don't have, unless they're tested for it, it won't come up. And it won't show. So, like, for example, I have never kissed my kids when I've had a cold sore. I've been very careful about it. I have HSV1, if you think about it, because that's what I have, because I get cold sores. Everybody knows about it. People take their own risks. It's what you do. the likelihood of you, it's unusual not to have it more often than not. So if you're going to have a lot of partners over the years, you're going to find people will get it. So can you have what? Sorry. So can you have, no, not sure. So gonorrhea, please be careful. It's a bacterial STI. Talk about hepatitis A, hepatitis B. Can you have HSV1 and not have any symptoms? Yes, you can, absolutely. You might have sexual, so what you might find as well with herpes, that people and other things, people will have no symptoms whatsoever and still have some of these things. So yes, you can. Kinky smiley kitty, and I've educated myself, but I find conflicting information. I know I'm the minority here. My kids have not been tested for HSV1. However, they have never had a cold sore in their life. Did I potentially give it to them? Yes. Did my mum give it to me? 100%. Of course my mum did. She kissed me. She didn't know when I was little. And that's how most people get it. It's from parents. Well, they've never had a cold sore actively that they know of. So it's not to the best of my knowledge. We talk about it a lot. We've had that discussion. That's why I'm saying, could they have HSV1? They could have, but they've never had an active showing cold sore. So it's difficult to say whether they've got it or not unless they get tested for it. However, the majority of human beings have HSV1. Papa Bear, Papa _ Bear, I think his name is, or is it _ Papa _ Bear _ I can't remember. Namori will probably be looking it up as we speak. He is on FetLife. He is a sex educator and he writes brilliantly about HSV1. He's got some really good writings about it. What would be the purpose of testing? How would it affect them or their behavior? You can choose not to have sex with somebody who has HSV1 because it could be a risk that you could give it to somebody else and it could be passed on. So it could be. If there is also hepatitis C, then MSM, it's a long-term liver disease, and men who have sex with men, MSM, there is a higher transmittal, whatever the word is, I always forget these words, in men who have sex with men as well. You then have HIV. That's a virus that attacks your immune system. It's weakened your ability to fight infection. It used to be called gay cancer when it started. That was lovely. Honestly, you can do so much with PrEP and all sorts of different things around HIV. And if you're going to have sex, especially sex that is a higher risk of HIV, when we talk about things, mainly gay men, it is not just gay men, for fuck's sake, it is heterosexuals too. Let's not forget that. However, if you are very active when it comes to anal sex, that's when you've got to start thinking about it, because the tissues and our wall lining inside our anus is very different to vaginal sex, and it tears a lot easier and blood starts to happen as well. That's why we have blood in our feces sometimes and when we wipe. And if you do, please go and get checked, because you should not have blood there all the time or very often, especially if it's bright red. And of course, you could have piles and all sorts of things as well. So HIV. You've got lymphogranuloma venereum, which is LGV, and that's a form of chlamydia. And again, that's MSM, men who have sex with men, different form of chlamydia as well. You have mycoplasma genitalium, which is MGen, that can be transmitted through sexual contact. You've got lice, which can be just close physical contact. You've got scabies, mites, they burrow under your skin and they lay eggs. That's passed as well. So we don't talk about these things as well. So I was just talking to you about Shigella. That's a bacteria. That's almost like you've got chronic shits and you're really not feeling well. Again, it's more to do with anal sex, Shigella. That's why it's more MSM than it is heterosexual. However, what you will find is that if you're having anal sex, you can still actually get it. Syphilis. Syphilis is bacterial. Again, it's an STI. Please be careful. Syphilis can kill you. I mean, syphilis is so dangerous and so not funny, especially untreated. It is not funny. And then you also have Trichomonas vaginalis TB, which is a tiny germ, a protozoan, and it's like a bacteria, and it's mainly found in women, and it can be found in men as well. And they're just some of the ones that we can think about or talk about. There are so many more, like little bits and pieces that we can know. Why are they so stigmatized? I promise I'm only going to do about 5 more minutes, because people want to know why they're stigmatized. Because it's about sex. That's why. It's not really you've got a disease. It's because you've got a disease because you were being a dirty little cunt and you shouldn't have done that. That's what it's about. We turn around and we say, like when people have nits, dirty. No, nits prefer clean hair. The cleaner your hair is, the more likely you are to get nits. That's made my head itch. I wish I hadn't mentioned them. Oh, I remember having a head full of nits when I had fucking extensions in my hair. Oh, honestly, I tried 4 different sets of three different, there are only three different sets of chemicals to try and kill them off. It was a fucking nightmare. Just makes my head itch thinking about it. So stigma is incredibly strong with people. We have such a negative response, and it's because our judgment is around sex, not the TI or the TD that comes with it. That's the negative reaction that people have. So when we find out that someone has something wrong with them and they're dirty and they're not very nice, actually, you can end up with domestic violence. You can end up with name calling. You can end up with all sorts of stuff where people say, you've been unfaithful, you've done this, you've done that. And there was quite a run of women who were being diagnosed with HIV who had only ever slept with their husbands. Because, of course, if the husbands then went and had sex with other people, especially when it was first starting, so any man who was homosexual was breaking the law. Jesus, really breaking the law. So the risk of you being put away or being chemically castrated was high. And if you didn't want to go to jail, you opted for chemical castration, which was, God, it's just such a killer. But of course, women were also infected at the same time if they were married to somebody, but they were often the ones stigmatized because they clearly slept with somebody else. Andy, got dinner coming out the oven, catch you soon. Night, night, take care. There are so many STIs. Whenever I get a full checkup at my local sex health clinic, it only covers chlamydia, HIV, AIDS, gonorrhea, and that's about it. Yes, because they are probably the most common as well. So that's what we do go for, the most common. So STD, STI, it's just people make jokes. They're just simple infections. This isn't about stigmatization of the actual illness, the actual disease, or anything else as well. It's because of what we associate with sex. That's why. It comes from shame. It's really based in shame. And you only need one person out of a polycule to get some form of infection, and everybody could potentially get it. However, a little bit like COVID. Andy got COVID, first of all, in my family, and he was here and I was doing his swabs. I mean, really carefully, I wore a mask, not when I tested in. Please don't ask me why. I'm a really sensible woman, didn't think about it. Did about 6 lateral flows on him. 4 were negative for over 4 days. On the 5th one, we got a positive. And then it dawned on me of, fuck, I've been testing him without wearing a mask. What have you been doing? And so I got it. His girlfriend got it, who is my daughter, and one of my other daughters got it, but one of my other daughters who was also here didn't get it. And yet we'd all been cuddling and everything anyway. So it doesn't always mean that you're going to get something just because somebody else has got it either. That's the other thing to think about as well. But people are so ashamed and worried about this sort of thing that they will spend years spreading things around because there's no consequence to them, because they are so ashamed or they're not aware of it. Or it might be that it's completely asymptomatic. Again, just like COVID. It's good to think of it like COVID. However, we don't want to be tested because we don't want to know we've got something. We really don't, because it's horrendous to us. So if you think about HPV, and it's over half the sexual population have HPV, we're busy shaming other people like HSV1 as well as HPV, where everyone's got it. Most people have got something in some way, shape or form. If you were to have a full suite of tests, you would find that you have something. We need to teach people. We need to educate better. We need to tell people what happens. We need to educate people that these things are easily treated. We need to teach people that there isn't a stigma around it just because you sleep with somebody else. You could sleep with one person and have an array of STIs and STDs. That's the problem. Or you could sleep with 300 and get absolutely nothing. I feel really lucky. I've had minimal sort of things in my life. I got bacterial vaginosis quite a lot. So the other thing to think about, please think about bacterial vaginosis if you have a coilin, especially if you have the Mirena coilin, which has a small amount of hormone that sits in the coil. If you develop something that is bacterial, especially like bacterial vaginosis, it can live inside the coil. And what you then have to ask for if you have reoccurring issues around it is for the coil to be taken out, wait a month, bleed, make sure it's gone, have a new coil put in. So there are lots of things that aren't necessarily related. It's the same with thrush. The likelihood of you having thrush and different bits and pieces actually come from our own gut, our own bacteria and everything else as well. Ivory, your face. Sorry, Ivory. So you have to think about these things. Actually, if you're worried about you both having thrush, put a pessary in, cover his cock with cream, have sex. You're both covered in it then. Great. You're both absolutely sorted, aren't you? You've got a pessary in, he gets covered in the pessary. He's got cream all over his dick, and he's got Peturia, mixing all that stuff. Lovely, thank you very much, and sorted. But of course, it can really fucking sting, so maybe don't do that as well. Depends how you are. You know, herpes has one of the greatest stigmas, actually. It really does. And I don't know why it's that one in particular. I think it's because we can never get rid of it. You know, herpes isn't just for Christmas, it's for life type thing, like that whole puppy thing. It stays with us forever. There isn't a cure. There's nothing we can do. So people feel very stigmatized about it and very worried. And then there's an irony, because actually the more stressed and worried you are, the more likely you are to have an outbreak. However, herpes can lead to suicidal tendencies on a regular basis, and other people will get a serious depression around it as well. We are very quick to judge others. How quickly do we say things like, oh yeah, well, you know, if she hadn't slept around, or if he hadn't have done that, or if they hadn't done that, I'm like, oh no, that's me. Oh no, that sounds awful. I can feel my legs crossing, tingling the more tightly, the more we talk. I read that as tingly. I don't know what that said about me, but tightly. Sorry, Ivory. So, you know, I do, you know, that's the thing about all these things, isn't it? They are around. Sex is dirty. If you're going to have anal sex, there's going to be a risk. If you're going to eat shit or drink piss, there is going to be a risk. Sex is risky. When people say things, Steve Wilkos again had this young girl on the other day, and she was like, she's had a baby, she's 15 years old, and she doesn't know who the father is because she slept with 4 guys on the same night at the party, and people were really booing her and telling her how disgusting she was. Is she? She's a fucked up kid who's got a few things wrong, trust me, because by the end of the show, actually, she was really upset. And she doesn't really want to feel that way, and she's scared about life, and, you know, living life to the max and doing something like having sex or drinking alcohol or taking drugs helps you forget your life and where you are. However, you can't turn and say, yeah, but I took birth control. I'm sorry, do you want to know the real figures around birth control and how they work? When I did my psychosexual psychotherapy 2-year course, one of the things we have to be taught about is STIs, but we're also taught about efficacy of birth control. When you read the statistics on the birth control packet, if it's pills or on the condom, if it's a condom or on the dam, they'll give you figures like 98.9 or 99.9. Read the small print, because the small print actually says as long as it's used correctly. Most of you don't use any of these things correctly. I don't, you don't. Most of us do not. Like, for example, every time you use a condom, did you know you must hold the condom at the base of the penis, and then when you're fucking, as soon as you're finished, you must hold it again at the base of the penis when you pull out. Don't just pull out with your hands up. You must hold it at the base. That's one of the conditions to show that the condom will work at maximum effect. If you take the pill in any way, shape, or form as a form of birth control, and you have an upset stomach or you are sick, you are not protected for the rest of that month through to your next set. Slight stomach ups or anything else as well. It might be that it doesn't matter. It might be that actually you took it and you threw it up, which means it isn't in your system. Should you be okay? Yeah, hopefully. But does it reduce efficacy every single time? So we've got to be careful about all these things. We just think we know better. The downside of sex is it can give you something, and it can make you pregnant if you're a woman. And if you live in Texas or a few other places in America, good luck with that right now, because Jesus Christ, we are, yeah, don't get me started. Let's not do politics. I'm not very outspoken for politics, but the stigma always comes from, oh, well, you shouldn't have had sex then, should you? But you want to put your cock inside somebody, so that's funny, isn't it? So please remember these things. Be careful. Your exes can be right cunts, and it's really horrible. So we were talking about that in the first place. Understand what your ex wants. Understand what they're after. Try and change things. Don't fight fire with fire. Try not to do those things. Please be careful. Recognize when they're baiting you. Be a nice person. Look after yourself. Don't go to the same places. Make sure that you are careful. Act differently. Don't ever meet them. Don't talk to them. Don't be put in a situation. Please be careful around scat, because I've spoken about all the different things that can happen to you and what it looks like and what it works like. Has that been done recently? Because I haven't read that recently. So if they have, I'll be really pleased about that, because there was a doctor who was taken to court, wasn't he? So it'd be great if they were under really good judicial review, because there was another state bringing them in as well. I feel like we're going into be wearing red fucking capes and white hats soon. That's what I think we're all going to. Well, that won't be me because I'm too old. Yeah. Domina, that is funny. Biden intervened because Supreme Court wouldn't. Gosh, have I missed the news in the last few days? I haven't seen that at all. Right, so we've covered a lot today. We've covered a lot about scat and the risks. Basically, I'm going to say don't eat it. Don't, unless you know your immune system is fucking amazing, or you have a load of antiviral drugs or a load of antibacterial type drugs, as in antibiotics. Please don't do it. That's what I would say generally. Is the same risk with urine? No, it's very different. That's why Nemoria put that writing in. It is still not. People think it's sterile. It is not. Please do not believe that urine is sterile. It is not. Not. And if you're being harassed by somebody, it's all about not playing that game. Anyone want to see the puppy before you go again? Just one more time. Come on, Goose. Goose. Say bye, Goose. Look, Goose, say bye-bye. She's probably thinking, what the fuck?
Hello, Goose. Can I have Goose for Christmas dinner, please?
Oh, she's just like a little stiff teddy bear, isn't she? She really is real, look. Oh, she doesn't like that. She's real. Are you real, baby girl? You tired? She's so cute. And she smells like baby powder. All right, love you all. See you next week. If you've got any topics you want me to cover next week, let me know and we'll cover them. Because I don't have any questions for next week for a change already. I hope everybody's learned a little something today, got something new that they didn't know before in some way, shape or form. So thank you all very much for coming. Lots of love to you all. And I'll see you soon. See you later. Anchor wave. Bye. Bye. More than I wanted to know. That's funny. See you later. Bye.